It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jonathan Tavernari joined the program again. JT, thanks for hanging out, man. How's it going?
I miss you guys. I thought you forgot about me.
No.
Never.
No.
Never.
We've been too busy watching football, JT, but now it's basketball season. We're locked in.
I'll say, too, you've got me. College basketball has me watching college basketball earlier than I ever do. I never watch it this early and this intently. So congrats. We're watching more college basketball earlier than ever.
Let me remind you guys that one of the reasons why I converted to the Mormon church is because they have a basketball court in every single chapel. They don't have football fields and goal posts. They have basketball hoops, okay? So it's basketball season, guys. Let's go.
Fair enough. Well, let's get into it with the Cougs. 11th ranked in the country right now. Somehow dropped in the polls last week, but I don't know. You can get into that if you want. But they had to grind one out last night. What did it say about BYU last night as you're watching that game? What did you learn about the Cougars after that win?
That Mr. AJ Dybantsa, even at half speed and sick as a dog, is probably better than 99% of the other basketball players in the world. And the fact that that man was sick under the weather and he still came out and was the leading scorer with 25 points, it was unreal. And, it was very, I'm going to say something that people are going to think I'm crazy, but it was kind of like, Jordan-esque with the flu. You could tell that he wasn't good. There was a time in the first half that he got bumped and he went on the ground. And you guys know that feeling when you're kind of sick and maybe you stub your toe or you hit something and you're just like, oh, I don't even want to move anymore. And AJ got up and he went to work. And so what I learned is that boy is resilient. Richie Saunders has, the confidence that probably rivaled mine, because he was 0 for 6 and he shot a three-pointer with a minute to go that put BYU up 5. And, they're rolling right now. They're 16-1 and, they have a few top 15 matchups coming up in the next week and a half. And this team is different. This team is special.
Kevin Young mentioned that too, because I thought AJ was going to die out there, and it was, and everyone chuckled and it was like, no, we need you out there. You got to be out there. That's what you talk about how AJ, Rob Wright III, Richie Saunders, like those guys are doing so much work. Is there there's a version of watching this thing, and I'm sure BYU fans are a little bit nervous because you're like, hey, one of those guys goes down. The NCAA, tournament looks way more bleak. Can you do that? Can you maintain something like this with the three guys and hope that everybody else is also going to show up on nights when maybe it's only 1 for 3 of those guys is working, or maybe only –
Or you shoot 5 of 24 from 3.
Or none of them are, right?
Well, Alex and JJ, knock on wood, as a former Catholic, I'm crossing myself. Because if any of those guys go down, you can kiss this season goodbye. And I think that's just a situation, because if you look at the way that they had planned for this team, Kevin Young had planned for Nate Pickens to be a backup guard to Robert Wright, where maybe Robert doesn't have to play 33 minutes a game. He can play 29. He can play 28. You don't think that that's a big difference, those 4 or 5 minutes, but it's a massive difference. And then you think of, okay, Nate Pickens is down for the season. Who's next up? Well, Dawson Baker is next up. Had an amazing game for BYU against UConn a few months back in Boston, and then he goes down with an injury. And so some of the other guys, especially on the guard lineup, just aren't up to the level that they need to be. Much more was expected from Alexei Kostic, the guard that came from Europe, and he is barely getting any playing time. Tyler Moretz and Mihailo Boskovic needed to be knocking the 3 ball a little bit more than they are. And so, on the post, they're kind of sad where they had Kebaketa, the former Utah Ute, They have Abdullah Ahmed, the transfer from the G League, and then Kadeem Boop, a transfer from the NBA Africa Academy. And so that rounding up with, Richie Saunders, AJ Dybantsa, Kennard Davis Jr., they're kind of in a solid place. But, as a guard play, I think that they could do without maybe Richie Saunders, which is kind of crazy to think because he's playing at such a high level before they could ever do without AJ or even without Robert Wright III.
They got the win against TCU, but we'd love to get your thoughts on their win over Utah. I know you love that BYU Utah rivalry, and you had some great games against the Utes, and you had a lot of experiences in the Huntsman Center. What was it like for you to see it the way it was on Saturday? That place was rocking, and we had a great game. And a lot of people are looking at BYU. Why didn't you win that game by more? But that felt like the old days a little bit.
Well, listen, you're putting it mildly and conservative. I played Utah 9 times and I won 7. That is, that is the famous B2A, which I won't express what that means, but it is bell to the rear end for those that are listening. And so, but I will say this. I mean, JJ, we've known each other for over 20 years.
Yeah.
You covered a lot of Utah games. A rivalry game, you throw everything out of the window and you are in for a dogfight. And that's what it was. Credit to Utah, credit to Alex Jensen for having the boys ready to go. Terrence Brown is an amazing, amazing player. He's going to look awesome in BYU blue next year. And, there's just so many things about that game. Like Keanu Dawes, related to a former teammate of mine at BYU, played really well. They had shooters. And can I say, this is not a dig to Utah. When the Huntsman is back the way it was on Saturday, what an arena that is. Man, that's a top 25 college arena. And, there are a few reasons why that doesn't happen more often. It really should. But that was an incredible college basketball environment. And so BYU just did what they had to do to win. The fact that they won and they fell on the rankings, it's the stupidest thing in the world. But, at the end of the day, the net matters a little bit more than everything else right now. And BYU stays solid, around the top 10. At the end of the day, they're going to play Texas Tech on the road on Saturday, and it's going to be a big game because if they win, I can imagine them not being at least 9 in the country. And then with Arizona and Iowa State coming up, geez Louise Jeepers, mister, if they win those games, I have a hard time not seeing BYU being top 3 or top 4 in the country at that point.
Jonathan Tavernari joining us on the program, former BYU forward and also hot take haver across the board there. JT, I want to know your thoughts on. We started the show off talking about just an absolute pall across the sports world, which is the college basketball point shaving scandal, where now 28 players, including a handful who are still playing for their teams, in fact played last night for their teams, are being charged with point shaving and taking between $10,000 and $30,000 a game, allegedly, from fixers to make sure that point spreads were had, whatever it might be, to tip it in the direction. In my mind, I'm going, oh, this has always happened, but I would only assume it's only gotten worse with how much betting has infiltrated the entire sports world.
Well, how can it not? That's the thing, right? You look at what happened in the NBA, and, obviously being a member of the Brazilian national team when I was at BYU, I got to play with Thiago Splitter, who is now the head coach of the Trailblazers. Look even at the gambling situation that happened over there with Chauncey Billups, that, he had to step aside. And, with, I think it was a former Jazz player, I forgot his name now, Malik Beasley, I think. Yes. It was the shooter that he was with the Pistons. Let's be realistic, guys. You can really have the ticker on ESPN showing the over, under, and the spread and how to bet. You can have betting be embedded in all of the main sports show and sports media. You can really have all of that. and not expect for something like this to happen. You know what I mean? Like, and especially at this day and age where you're getting NIL and you're getting money, you know, it's a byproduct of everything that we're experiencing right now. Has it happened a lot in the past? Absolutely has. Do I personally know of situations, you know, I've tried to stay out of that stuff. And so I can wholeheartedly say I've never experienced any gambling or point shaving of seen it, all of the things that you're witnessing. But, you know, it's a byproduct of everything that's happening. I mean, transfer portal, you can transfer. I mean, Jeremiah, I mean, like when you and I met and I was being recruited, you could even barely transfer once, let alone every year in between college careers, right? I mean,
you couldn't transfer to another school in your conference.
But you lost a year of eligibility when you did that. And so all of this is ludicrous, you know, and just to highlight your point, Alex, I will say this. Just after I graduated from BYU, I was at a bookstore waiting for a flight, and I bought Technical Foul or whatever it was called, the Tim Donahue book. Yeah. And I actually reached out to Tim Donahue, and he actually agreed to meet with me, and I had lunch with him once. And I will say this, like, you know, probably did a great job, you know, mastering the story that he told. There was a part of me that believed him. But there is also a big part of me that, like, you truly understand the tendencies and players' habits and all of this stuff. And so, you know, I will say this, since you said that I'm a hot taker, I'm surprised that more hasn't been uncovered at this point.
Yeah, and you know, one of the points we were making too was it's never going to stop. It won't stop. It's only going to get worse. It's going to get easier to be able to maybe bust some of these guys, but I don't think that and again, it was kind of a brilliant plan because they're getting guys $10,000 to $30,000 a game, they said. And these are the guys, obviously, that are not the big money NIL guys. There are all these kind of second tier Division I schools that and guys that you would just kind of forget about, and they're not getting $1 million. So obviously, you could roll up to them and say, "Hey, we'll give you $25,000 for throwing this game. You're not making any NIL money like the guy across the street, and you deserve it, don't you?" And they probably believe that. And putting $30,000 into a pocket of a kid every game that they participate in something like this, it's hard to make that temptation go away, since money is already just revolving around the game at the rate that it is.
I mean, I will say this. You know, when I was at BYU and I was with the Brazilian national team, I was the only player out of a 12-man roster that was not a professional. I was struggling in Rio de Janeiro. I had to eat 3 meals a day at the hotel. Now, people say, well, you were staying at a hotel. I'm like, yeah, because all of my teammates were going to, you know, 5-star steakhouses and going out to eat every day. And I was there with the coaching staff staying at the hotel. I mean, can I tell you how many times I was offered, you know, like to just be in Brazil and a sponsorship on here or a few $1,000 in there? And I credit a lot of this to Leandro Barbosa and JP Batista from Gonzaga, because, like, it was hard. Like, there were times that I was so down that I was saying no, and my teammates were like, just hang in there. You know how good you are. You're going to get your turn. Like Anderson Varejao threw a celebrity game for a charity benefit where he was trying to collect money, but people had to pay tickets to see. I wasn't cleared by the NCAA to play. And the NCAA said if he even dresses and we see him on the bench, he is going to be fined and he is going to be suspended.
Wow.
And so Dave Rose and Dave Rice were on the phone with me on a Sunday and saying, you better not play. You better not play. You're going to get in trouble. And there are pictures of me sitting over there, having gone to church in Rio and sitting on the stands where I paid a ticket to go watch my freaking teammates play.
Wow.
Because if they had let me in, it would have been a violation. And so now, to you guys' point, the network that I've built, the relationships that I've built, JJ is one of them. Those things to me are priceless. I had my career, you know, in Europe. I have a great career in the tech space now. But, like, the way things are now are just ludicrous. And, you know, you have opened up a Pandora box. We could spend a whole week talking over here on segments about all of this. there's no putting the genie back on the box, and that goes to NIL, money, transfer portal, and unfortunately, some of the vices of life like gambling and point shaving.
Yeah, JT, I hate that you had to go through the extreme on one end, but then I see the extreme on the other end. I wish there was some kind of oversight or some kind of, I don't know, a commissioner or somebody that could find a way to get us back to the middle where it should be, where players can benefit, but we don't have this wild, wild west going on where people can be taken advantage of like we're seeing with this story today. Jimmer Fredette getting his jersey retired on February 14th. About time. Your reaction to your former teammate finally getting his name put up on the rafters?
Well, a couple of things. First one is I texted him and I said, if I don't get a steak dinner out of this thing, I'm going to be very mad. Lo and behold, he said, absolutely, let's have a dinner the day before the jersey retirement. So at least I'm going to get something out of this, guys, and I'm happy about that. With all jokes aside, I was there for, 3 out of the 4 years with Jimmer. Obviously, I missed Jimmermania. I was a rookie in Europe at that point. But I will say this. I got to see this dude from when he came in as a freshman, where he didn't really understand how he could impact the college game, sometimes struggle at length in practice, to pretty much have one of the greatest individual single seasons in NCAA history. And all of the things that you hear about hard work, discipline, commitment, focus, you don't have it. There's not enough adjectives to highlight all of the effort that it went in from Jimmer's perspective for him to be as good as he became. It was great to see, right? My senior year, you could see that we were kind of bumping a little bit because of my style of play and him needing more attention with the ball, which is why I told Coach Rose, I said, bring me off the bench. I will figure it out. Jimmer and Tyler Haws need their roles. They need to be highlighted more. And man, we went on a 15 game winning streak. And just to see the man that he became, he truly is a basketball global icon. And, everybody knows him from Brazil to Canada, all the way to China. And the best part is he hasn't changed. Still makes the same stupid jokes. Still takes all of our calls. Still giggles the way he always had. Couldn't be happier for a better guy. And he did break me my 3-point record. But JJ, I think it's pretty safe to say that if the guy had to have the greatest season in NCAA college history to be able to break my 3-point record, it's pretty good company to be in.
Absolutely, JT. There's no doubt about that.
I was just going to say, is the number 45 going to be up there at some point? Because I'm looking at some pretty good career numbers here, JT. I mean, let's put a presentation together maybe for Brian Santiago, and we can figure this thing out, man.
I would appreciate that, and but I got to tell you, BYU has done so much for me, and I know we're coming up at time, and just to wrap it up, I feel like the way college basketball used to be with the rivalries and the entire the way that it used to be, right, where you had the pageantry and the regional battles, that has gone away, and it makes me really sad. It's a byproduct of this day and age. And, to your point, I went through one side of the extreme. We're now experiencing the other, but BYU meant so much to me. I mean, the fact that you guys have me on, obviously I had a really good career. I can't be considered one of the greats at BYU, but these things matter, and not being able to build their relationship with people, it's something that these kids are going to suffer, and because there's no price to it once you get to a certain day and age. And so I appreciate you guys having me. This is great. And I would definitely ping you guys offline so we can schedule a meeting with Santiago about some things that need to happen.
I could put together a pretty darn good Photoshop and some things too. I mean, we could game up some of these pictures. I could make it look like you're jumping higher. We could bump up some of those looks there for you. So we're going to be on your team to see if number 45 can get
Love it.
retired.
I appreciate it, guys.
There you go.
JT, you're the best.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you again.
Take care, guys. Have a good day.
There you go.